Guess we'll call this meeting to order. Start the pledge of allegiance. Steve, you lead us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Guess we need to have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I see no guest presentations. So I'll go on to the consent agenda. 3 items. The minutes from the February meeting, which you already looked at and emailed to you. Look at the bills and accept the resignation of some classified personal action. Accept the resignation from Stephanie Higgins from Transportation. Accept the resignation from Tom Bromley at JS Title I aid, and hire Charlie Schlein for Transportation.
And the bills are in the front of your folder.
What or who is hating Ross?
Who is leaving Ross? Those are our accountants. No, I don't know. We already paid them, but they thought we overpaid them, so they sent me a check back. Then they realized I posted the check to the wrong spot, so I had to repay them again.
That 5,000 was for the audit mostly, half of it.
I move to pay all bills.
Second.
It's been moved, that we pay all bills, and it's also for the consent. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I don't see any patron input. Go with the financial report.
A whole lot has changed. Still getting some money in from the state. We did get the GAMS technology money, so we'll be getting about another 12,000 from them here in the next month or two. So,
Are we still waiting to get federal money, like all the titles that are
yes,
in the negative?
yes, and the Title II, I need to request that one yet. And then on a couple of the others, I need to make a couple of adjustments because I think I was supposed to things before I request the rest. So.
Which one's the read? What's that?
The read.
Federal force.
Force.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 262.
Yeah. That's not right.
Oh,
No,
no.
no.
Kim, what's the refund?
The refund is like,
It's rural monies for things like, we're using it on leader in the technology, yeah.
That refund, we have a lot of flexibility on, right?
Yes, yes.
I always forget what that stands for, but it's Rural Education Achievement Program.
yeah.
We have a meeting this Thursday.
Anybody have any more questions for Kim? Okay, move on to the technology report, Dan.
Okay, before I get started with the heavy end of this whole thing, I got word today that our FCC license has been approved. Radios have been ordered today. We'll have DTAs on Friday. So we'll be able to start rocking and rolling it anytime soon. So I wanted to go over today what we have in place should we have an outage. Okay. I've been writing and been a part of business continuity planning since 2004 for military, public, and private sector. I've done these in very large corporations, clear down to basically our district as well. So basically, business continuity plan, we go through, we do the analysis, recovery strategies, plan, exercises, the rest of this, but this is the process as part of actually a larger picture, which is this. You'll notice the legend over here talks about our entire plan. Facilities has their occupant emergency plan for where things happen. Continuity of operations is what we're going to talk about today. You'll notice that in this realm over here, Recover Resume, I have the disaster recovery plan, which is, for me, is a different plan for what we have going on, but these all tie together. So these two right here actually tie in to keep us running in case of an emergency or we have to close for some reason. So, let me skip ahead here. So these are the things that we plan for. Fires, floods, snow, earthquakes, and then we put bear in there because that could be anything. That's our variable, right? In this case, it happens to be a bear with a virus. So when I got here, we started moving things in a specific direction on purpose. So for example, we are 1-to-1 K through 12. Some districts have 2-to-1, 3-to-1. We wanted to have it set up to where every student has a device available to them, okay? We went with Chromebooks because that enables us to have the Google Suite for Education, which allows for documents, sheets, presentations, Google Classroom, the rest. We set up remote management for the Chromebooks and for the iPads, so that way I can push content remotely rather than having to touch each device individually. We instituted K-12 alerts, which is our primary method of communication out to parents and staff and everyone. Whether it be text, voice, email, we have the ability to get a hold of people should we have an emergency. Teachers went from being stuck with desktops to going to laptops. Most critical staff also have a mobile device as well, okay? Curriculum and curriculum support programs were all moved to the cloud. So if we have a new curriculum that comes in, like for example at Journeys at the elementary, it has an online component that goes with it. I made it clear to the teachers many years ago that if you have a program that has a web-based counterpart, we need to move to that web-based counterpart. We're not going to have local programs installed that the kids could access then just about anywhere. We moved our financial solution from it being hosted here and us being responsible for it to the cloud. It's now being hosted by Tyler Technologies. We moved our school information system from living here as well. It's now hosted, so we have that remote access. One of the last pieces of the puzzle was the voice over IP system, which allows us to do also, we can also go in remotely and use that as well. And then in the last piece, we just upgraded our firewall. We have new availabilities for our virtual private network for off-site staff to work. The end goal out of all of this is that should something happen, we can have complete continuity of operations and no one has to be here. That means that if we needed to send devices home with students, that's simply a matter of checking them out. Filling out paperwork, checking them out. Thank you very much. Basically, here at the KHS, that's already done. We could easily implement that down at the elementary school. And business continuity plans are ongoing, so things are always changing inside of these. We're always adding new features, or we're changing things out as they go. And so we always have things to work on. Now, should we have to move out? We have two options for us that are going to be the backbone of what we have going on. One of them is Google Chat and Google Meetings, okay? This is part of our primary communication strategy. And so this is the vehicle that we're going to be using teachers and staff to do a lot of the communication. Now, in an event of an emergency of any kind, the #1 priority from the technology perspective is finance, and specifically payroll, because people need to get paid. So if you were to have, in a disaster recovery situation such as when Napa School District went through this year, their system went completely dark 2 days before payroll was supposed to be submitted. And then you now have to figure out what in your business continuity plan you have in the way of backups for being able to enter that payroll and get people paid on time. So that's been my primary focus in this whole thing is, all right, how do we, if we have to go to a shutdown, how do we handle that entire process? Well, our financial software is already hosted, so you can reach it from anywhere as long as you have the internet. And we want to implement best business practices. So in the same way that the president and vice president are not at the State of the Union address, and your C-level executives, your CEO, CFO, CIO, they don't fly in the same plane everywhere. we will want to make sure that our business people, especially the ones who are doing payroll and paying our bills, are not in the same building together. So get everybody working remotely. The nice thing about it is critical staff, district office staff, Mr. Kirkland, Amy and Kim, myself, other people that we need to get in. Secretaries can go home. They have devices. We'll get them peripherals as needed, printers, whatever it happens to be. We have soft phones for them to use, which means that you basically have your phone on your device. You log into a web page, you use your microphone or a headset. It's as if you're sitting at your desk. On top of that, we also have Google Chats and Google Meet for people to be able to reach individuals there as well. So now that we've got finances covered, again, we've been planning for this for quite a while. Priority 2 is getting instruction out. So yes, we've moved everybody home. How then do we deliver content to students? Okay, now, first and foremost, they've all got devices. Whether or not they have internet access, Mr. Kirkland, what was the percentage of people at the high school that didn't have, or claimed that they did not have internet access?
No, it's about 5 or 6%.
So we will adjust fire on content delivery for those individuals. We will make it. But for the majority, we have Google Classroom as the primary instruction delivery tool. Teachers will be able to, and we did a dry run today and using Google Meet. So it allowed them to do meetings with the students to give instruction. They'll be able to live stream their classes. So if you needed to, like for example, if we're going to have a history class for an hour, we're going to schedule it on the calendar. Kids get online. He's going to give the presentation, do it in a live stream format, so you have a question and answer. So you don't have kids talking over, they can ask questions through the Q&A. You can record it. The other nice thing is for the kids who claim that nothing's working, there's a call-in feature. There's a number that you can call in to join the meeting remotely as well. The other nice thing about it is with Google Chat, you log in the morning, you're available. If students need to text, voice, or have a video call with you about something, you're available. Okay. We have this allows us to put it on your phone, your tablet, however you plan on doing the communication, we have the communication in place for them to be able to do it. This allows us to operate under a skeleton crew at the buildings as needed. It keeps everybody safe at this point. It's remote workers. I can tell you right now from all the businesses that I deal with on my end, especially like Tyler Tech, who does our finances and the school information system, all 7,000 of their workers are working from home. There's nobody allowed into the buildings. Everybody's working remotely. So, this is one of my favorite quotes. Basically, it says that as we have planned and do some more planning, and then we dry run, and then we plan it again, and then we do it, the second we go live, something's going to go wrong. So, with that, we're going to have adjustments as needed. There will be contingencies for things that we don't foresee. We have things in place to handle that. So we will have regular input from everybody on what is working well and what is not working well. If it's overwhelming that it's maybe an end user issue or people don't quite understand exactly how it works, we get the training at the end to fix that. If it turns out it's past the issue and it's just not working, period, we have the communication tools in place to make the adjustments as we need. The one that I'm working on right now, trying to figure out what's going to be a good fit for that, is if they're going to break. It's part of doing business. How we're going to get repairs and support out to the students. Tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, I have a statewide meeting with other tech directors in the state where we're all going to be going over what we're doing, what are some good ideas, what support plans we have in place, and stuff that we're going to share back and forth to each other on all of that. So, any questions?
So what's the plan for like grade school?
Dan doesn't have it. Lori and I have been working on that.
I can tell you that from my end, we're ready to go with devices. If that's what the direction they want to take, I'm ready. That was the point of all the stuff we've done.
I think number one, we don't want to jump into anything if we do close and take a few days to get ready. There's no reason to rush.
Next
Like
one.
Dan said, continuity, we kind of want continuity, so we need to have that in place. We're gonna meet with teachers tomorrow. We're not good for that.
Just
And
wanna
Dan
let-
did a training for our teachers too on Google Meet yesterday, and it's pretty easy to use. It was pretty nice. And so, some of those things we'll use, and some of them we may not use. And at the elementary level, Dory and I just met a little bit ago, and if we close, we don't, like, we want things to be manageable for families. Kids, who knows what's going on, they might be babysitting their siblings, who knows. So we want it to be manageable. We want it to be manageable for families. We don't want them to be taking on new things to where they're going to be frustrated with the school district.
I just wanted to let the board and the administration know that we have been planning for this from the get-go. And that's why the push has been all these years to get some of these products and services in place in case something like this happened. It's happening, so we're ready to go. We are actually way further ahead than some other districts. One of them that just closed, I was on the phone with their tech director not even an hour ago, and I'll be providing support for him through some stuff, phone and probably in person, to help them get ready and get going, because this was never on their radar, and they did not have the infrastructure in place to do something like this. So,
Can I ask Eric? Eric, how do you feel about it? Like,
I'm not worried about it.
you're not worried about it? We got, we'll hang out and we'll chat.
Actually, no, not if. I'm only going to do the Google Hangout with like the chemistry class. Everything else is going to be more or less along the same lines I've been doing it.
Is Google Meet, Google Hangout?
Well,
Which one's which?
well, it's Google Chat. is what
Chat,
we're
yeah.
using.
But,
So what they used to call Google Hangout is now Google Chat?
Yes.
I'm only going to do that with one class, where it's like it pays to have. Having a kid do chemistry without somebody helping explain it is a little difficult. The other stuff's way more simple, so yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Is it a very big leap for any other instructors? Do you see the particular class struggle with this?
No, so when I've talked to the teachers, we're going to focus on the core classes. Like, we're going to make this manageable. We're not going to kill kids with rigor if we close. This is the time to make it manageable for kids and for families. And we don't want teachers to make big leaps with what they're doing, because if they do, then we're going to have people frustrated, both teachers and kids, and so we want, that's part of the reason we had that training, and Google Meet and Google Chat was pretty straightforward, which is nice. But we don't want them to take on stuff that they don't understand, and for the first time in a time like this, it just needs to be something that's manageable for them and use what they know.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to see it start fairly simple and maybe
Yeah.
have some success for everybody.
Yeah.
We can build on that, but try to bite off too much. It's
Yeah,
right off the bat.
yeah.
It can get pretty tough, pretty frustrating.
And now that we've had a few school districts close, and we're not closed, we've been able to see some of the things that they've done or not done that kind of went well or not well, and maybe steal some little pieces here and there. So, it's been good. And we talked about a lot of different things today at our superintendent meeting, because about half the people there have already closed and about half are still open, so.
What are we gonna do about meals for the needy kids?
Well, food service would continue. We have letters that are ready to be sent out if we close. We would still provide breakfast and lunch at both sites. And it would be basically take and go. And it would be, we would have other staff members to help. And so it would just be a matter of preparing those, and then if people came and picked them up, checking them off, and they can have their meals. They can pick up 2 at a time, breakfast and lunch, and go.
We're ready to, JAS, I think these guys are ready too.
Yeah, there's some forms that we have to fill out to do a program like that. But Kim's already got those forms ready to go, and we just fill in dates if we close and go.
So how long can we keep our classified staff working?
Well, how long can we keep them working? I'm not sure if I know.
Is there enough to keep them busy so they can take time down?
You know, I think that is the million-dollar question, and that was probably the one question that was the toughest question that no one had answers for today at our superintendent meeting. And that's why there's a lot of frustration right now as far as the districts all feel, and I feel the same way, that we're really just kind of on our own navigating this, and we're not getting a lot of support above us. And so there's a lot of frustration with that. I think for initially trying to get things ready, especially at the elementary level, I think that we can find stuff for everybody for a period of time, but you know, how busy we can keep people, I'm not, I don't have the answer to that. That's a hard one.
How many people are we talking about? The classified staff, what kind of numbers is that?
Well, there's I guess what I'd call probably the essential class, the essential staff to be here would be like office staff or whatever, even if they're not here at home, but here. And then there's like classroom aides and special ed aides and stuff like that that wouldn't generally have anything to do unless we came up with alternate jobs. So at the high school, you know, you've got maybe 2 or 3, elementary.
6.
Yeah, and then you've got the bus drivers too. You know, Joe's talked about you know, working on cleaning buses, but they can only, you know, get so clean. But so things like that. So for a period of time, yeah, I think. Well, yeah. Other questions? We can go into this more too when I do my report.
So is that all they had, Dan?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the JES principal report.
There hasn't been much, but what we did have, we had a reading class in America, which was a great celebration of reading activities. Our farm, which is a family of reading matters, we had family mornings where parents came in and their kids read to them. That was awesome turnout for our building. They seemed to enjoy that. And then a grandparents breakfast, which was a huge turnout. I think we had about 160 people come out for that. So that was huge. It was like 30 up from last year. That's exciting. We are up in enrollment 1. We had 133 last month, 134 this month. And then our average daily attendance is 93%. That's all I have.
Going to the superintendent.
Okay, so I'll start with the high school stuff, and there, Mrs. Gertschy sent me some music stuff. We had kids attend District 2 solo ensemble the other day, and I already have this printed, but it was a music festival, and she said the kids did very well. We had a couple of kids, Krista Strickler and Eliza Olson, get a superior rating in vocal duet. Mia Sandino got a superior rating in flute solo. Junior high students Natalie Kimbley, Bailey Worthy, and Xavier Carpenter got a superior rating in the woodwind trio. Danielle Brown and Justice Tabor had excellent rating in vocal duet. Angelina Lexi had an excellent rating in flute solo. Rachel Olson and Rose Stewart had excellent rating in vocal duet. Mackenzie Miller had an excellent rating in alto sax solo. And Cassidy Lustig had an excellent rating in alto sax as well. So the kids did very well at that music festival. Our March students of the month were Savannah Feldman and Mackenzie Miller in the category of student participation. Our attendance is at 122. That includes our part-time students though as well. Senior project presentation night went very well. We had a panel of judges and parents and guests on March 5th here in the library. There was about 60 people there to watch the presentations, and it was very nice, went really well. We had a good crowd. We provided dinner. The students were really nervous for it. They did really well. They practiced and they felt really good afterwards about it. The Idaho FFA Gen State Leadership Conference took place. Mr. Fife took kids up to that recently. We had 16 FFA students attend that in Coeur d'Alene. The conference is intended to facilitate leadership and learning opportunities in young adults and growing their capacity for self-improvement strategies, mental personal development, and positive influence through service-based leadership. They also took a one-day ski trip in conjunction with this trip to look out with a few other FFA chapters as a fun conclusion to the conference. Spring sport participation, well, our numbers were baseball 13, a total of 20 on the team, softball 13, total of 16 on the team. That includes the dairy kids. And then track and field had 16 kids turn out. Right now that's on hiatus. Girls basketball is interested in organizing another trip out of state. This one would be to Kauai. They've been talking with the coach over there. There's not a lot of schools on Kauai, and so they like the idea of bringing schools in. So in order to do a trip like this, it would require board approval in the next month or two. So I will bring that to you to approve or disapprove over the next month or two. The team would have to begin fundraising very soon, and it would take place here in a couple of years. Under the district, we had an oven at Julietta have some parts stop working. The cost to replace it was quite a bit. It was $1,700. The unit was old, and there was parts that if other parts went out, we may not have even been able to replace all of the parts. We thought the best option would be to purchase a new oven. The oven that we got is on the next page. You can see there. We felt, just because of the price to purchase a new one versus the repair on an old one, the new one was the best option. Parent-teacher conferences, well, they were going to be held coming up. It's been canceled. ISAT testing is scheduled to start next week. The window just got moved back. So we have a window where we can do those ISAT tests. And so with all of the closures, that window is moving right now. That's just a first movement. My hope is that they will provide a waiver for states to not have to administer that test this year. I think that that's probably going to have to be initiated by the feds because it's ESSA that requires that. And with states already canceling through the rest of the school year, I know that there's states that are not going to be able to do it. And so I guess we're looking for that. We'll see how that goes. The Ed Law Institute has actually been canceled, so we'll disregard that. And transportation, our biggest bus, 08, Joe was saying it needs quite a bit of repair work. The engine's going out on it. He indicated the repair work, could run, up near $20,000. It's got about 200,000 miles on it. We're not doing anything with it at this point as far as repair work. We do need a big bus. We do use that big bus for a lot of different things. I think in hindsight, we probably should have got a big bus sometime in the last 5, 6, 7 years, but we'll need to look at that going forward. Kim and I are going to start talking about that depreciation account to see where we are. There's some money that needs to be moved into that, I believe, to see where that depreciation account is, and then we'll have a better idea of what's in there. But it's struggling at this point. Okay, before I start talking about COVID-19, is there any questions about those things? Okay, so I guess I didn't bring my notes. We had the superintendent meeting this morning. We went probably about 3 hours. It's kind of a long one. And of course, we talked about what's happening right now quite a bit. It was fairly unanimous that there's quite a bit of frustration right now that the districts are, doing a lot of this on our own and not having other people maybe shoulder the burden, elected officials. But that's where we are. I've been sending out attendance every day. Attendance at the elementary is continuing to drop. At the high school, it dropped a little bit today. I expect that to continue to go down. The number of districts closed, we're going to have a few more closed tomorrow too. Yeah, Gary tomorrow, and Casper's tomorrow. I'm going to miss one right there. I've been sending out a lot of information. You know, we've been talking with teachers and staff about, in the event of a closure, we've been talking about, you know, to kids somewhat here at the high school in the event of a closure. You know, Dan's been working a ton on his end to get things ready to give teachers tools that they can use. So teachers are fairly prepared at any moment if we make that call. I sent out an email this afternoon. Did you get that by chance? I think just in light of the fact that, you know, our president has requested, you know, we go down to 10 or less people in groups, as well as just basically, you know, isolating ourselves more for the next 15 days, along with the number of school districts that are closing. And that in itself isn't necessarily a reason to close, but what it does is it changes our public's perception. And right now, our public has been pretty supportive of staying open, probably more so than closing. But I think the more districts that close, even if there are no more cases, but I think there will be, that perception is going to slowly change. Anyway, I think that's where we are. So I think that, you know, my recommendation would be to close now. You know, Dorian and I have been talking about a timeline. If we were to close tonight, we would have Thursday, Friday for staff to end the quarter, get report cards done, as well as start preparing for some sort of distance instruction. Take Monday and Tuesday as well, further preparation, make sure that we're fully prepared and everything gets rolled out at the exact same time. Next week is a shortened week. It was supposed to be a shortened week anyway. We've got school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Take Monday, basically to prepare more. Tuesday, start rolling things out for a short, brief week as almost like a trial test run. Then we have spring break, and then when we come back from spring break, if we happen to still be closed, you know, we've had that trial run to sort of get things started ironing out. That's the plan right now in my head as far as how I think it might work best as far as scheduling goes. Other thoughts on that?
So you're still thinking no school tomorrow then?
That's what I would recommend. And really, like, you know, that's really part of like the superintendent's day. That's a lot of our frustration. You know, the president comes out of the United States and says, stay home, no more than 10 people. But yet we still don't have our State Department or our governor. And honestly, I really like those people, but I'm a little bit frustrated that they're not, you know, shouldering a little bit of this burden.
Yeah, this whole thing has been frustrating
Yeah.
to watch and listen to.
We've got so many variables right now
Yeah.
that the superintendents are trying to work through as far as minimum requirements for seat time, lunches, reimbursement for buses, all these different things that we're not getting any guidance on right now. We keep hearing that there will be flexibility and waivers and stuff, but it would be really nice if we were just told, yes, it's waived, or it's going to be taken care of, rather than every single district submitting 100 forms. Just give us a blanket waiver for all of these things. We're not getting that, but anyway.
Do students or anybody have any inkling that there may be a phone call tonight, say no school tomorrow?
Yes, they do. We had students here at the high school. I went around classroom to classroom and just told them that as of this afternoon, they need to prepare each day when they leave as if they're not coming back the next day. And so our kids have all of the things that they need to have at home. Dorian and I talked about what that could look like at the elementary, and like I said, we want to go slow and not roll anything out till next week, maybe Tuesday. And that would be, that gives us 3 days to prepare for that as far as communication goes, and getting things like packets and stuff ready for pickup, get lunches, food service ready to go, and so nothing is I'm sure that there's going to be hiccups, but we want to avoid diving in before we're ready.
Yeah. Probably the only downside is starting that tomorrow would be parents making arrangements for kids.
Yeah.
Elementary students don't know, so they weren't prepared for the
so be it. My recommendation is to stay that way. But I understand what you're saying too, the parent part of it with kids. Like that's a concern.
Parents are gonna have to find daycare, especially the day school.
Yeah.
I think everyone's kind of been expecting it, and know it's gonna come at some point, just the question when the shoe drops.
Right.
Is there any way we could have some daycare at grade school for parents that groups of 5 or 6? So people,
Really put me on the spot here. That would be difficult.
it would be.
Yeah. That would create some new things there. Thoughts? Any other thoughts?
If that's what you want to do for your recommendation, I don't disagree with that.
What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that'd be kind of like what Mark, you know, I have no problem with it. Just, you know, I don't know, give 1 day notice, just do it.
Yeah. Steve?
You gotta do what you gotta do. It's, you know, I worry about parents that can't find daycare for their kids.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be my big thing.
And what I'm worried about too is, you know, it's gonna get worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I don't know, 2 weeks is gonna be enough.
Yeah, you know what, the lady from the health department today, she said we might be in for the long haul.
Read an article this morning that said it could be going for almost a year or longer if it becomes that severe. The upside is if the old geezers are like me on Social Security, they say the government money, you can wait to pay.
Anything, Rhonda, the elementary?
I think hearing parents talk, they've kind of been planning that it's going to happen, it's inevitable. I mean, I can say with this, sometimes the sick kids that come in, I think almost sooner the better right now, to give us more time to roll things out, actually. I mean, I feel like we want to be successful as a school, but if we shut down, that would give us more time before actual spring break to get things over. And I hear you about the daycare, but there would be no way to provide it at the school because then you're picking and choosing who gets to have it. That's not what it was.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, any trustee reports? Okay, move on to action items. Approved purchase of 85 Chromebooks for 2021. You want to talk to this, Dan?
So, in talking with my contacts in the business channels, everything from China is getting cut off. We need to do this now. This is normally going to be set for May-ish. We did this April last year. I got to get this order in now so I can get what's in stock and is available, or else we're not going to have it. It's already, we already planned and budgeted for this. We already have the money available to do it in our 245 account. The other big one about it is there will be a large portion of our fleet that will go dead as of June 1st. So if we have to shut down for an extended amount of time, I want to get these things in, get them up and going, and get them swapped out while we have the opportunity. Because right now, as more districts close in more states who weren't planned and prepared for this, they're buying stuff on mass to try and get it out here. So, and literally, if we approve this, the second you guys approve it, I'm signing that PO and shipping it off, because I've got to get those here.
Does that represent what, a third of our Chromebook numbers?
No, we have about 270 total, so.
I move we approve purchase of 85 Chromebooks.
I'll second it. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve 85 Chromebooks. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Get the purchase done.
That's what I'm doing right now. Not taking.
Next one, approve emergency closure on February 20th due to student staff health concerns. Read discussion there, we had 20% of students absent.
This is just kind of like a snow day is what it is, like an emergency closure day, and we send the notice down, with the form that we fill out, Amy fills it out, we fill out the minutes, and we send it down. They basically waive the attendance on that day.
So what does, I guess, what does approving that, what that, what if we said no?
If you said no, then I think what would happen is we would basically not be able to count that day. You know, we get a certain number of hours basically as cushion due to emergency closure in our calendar. So there's a minimum number of hours kids have to be in the seats. And we get 11 emergency closure hours. So if it wasn't approved, then we wouldn't be able to count that day towards that number.
So basically, it's us saying, yay, barely, this counts only for 11. That's obviously a clarification.
Yep. Mhm. And there's also some times where you might have like really poor attendance, but you still have school and you look for kind of like a waiver for that day even though you had school. That's not the case here. Yeah.
I move we approve emergency closure.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the emergency closure on February 20th. All opposed say, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one is accept levy results. The supplemental levy was held on March 10th. Passed with 6% of the vote. I'm not going to Steve.
So you can see there how many ballots were cast and what the breakdown was. It was pretty similar to the last presidential election year. Higher number of votes. Pass rate decreased. So I'm not sure what else to say about it. Yeah.
Move we accept the levy results.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the levy results. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. This one is, I guess, board member input for future agenda items. Seeing none.
You know, this thing that goes on there, you have to lay out people working on it.
Yeah, part of the challenge is to go find other jobs and then come back.
That's right.
I mean, we talked about that today, like that's a real big challenge. Like it's hard enough to find people. You don't want to lose them.
But you can't keep them on the payroll indefinitely, you know, if you're not doing it.
I'll do our best to try to keep people busy.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor say aye.